So, hi everybody, I'm Fabian from Volume. I'm sitting here with Chris from Borderlands, and we will have a short talk about the new upcoming title. So, welcome Chris.
Thank you.
Maybe our visitors already knows, after Borderlands 2, there is now a DLC out there, Commander Lilith.
Yeah.
And right after Commander Lilith, we struck into Borderlands 3. So, what can we estimate from there on now?
Going forward, well, I mean, Borderlands 3 coming out September 13th, and like all the Gearbox titles before in the past, we're going to support the game. As much as the players want us to support the game. I mean, like, one of the things I've actually been most proud of in my time at Gearbox is how much we, like, regardless of how successful a game is, we are going to support that game with everything we have. Almost to the point where sometimes, like Battleborn's a good example. Like, Battleborn was not a raging success, right? But we still supported that game just the same as we supported Borderlands 2, right? And we'll continue to do that for Borderlands 3 as well.
In Borderlands 3, we already see new villains like the Children of the Vault. My personal question now would be, are there similarities to Ubisoft titles where there's also some sort of cult? Is there any influence from that?
Not specifically. I mean, the thinking with the Calypso twins was, you know, we've seen the kind of rise of streaming culture, right? And we wanted to take that to kind of this crazy extreme where, like, it's what if instead of having like 1.5 million followers, they had like 1.5 million like followers, like occultists, right? Like if they could like militarize them. That would actually be pretty scary, you know. So there are villains, so we needed them to be sinister, but also because they're streamers, they need to be entertaining too. They need to have charisma. So, not specifically any influence from there, but it's more of just kind of like looking at the world around us and trying to make it relevant. So.
You mentioned it, the evil ones are now twins. I remember Handsome Jack as one of the best evil enemy I know. What can we expect from them, and how will you catch the fans so that they even fall in love in the same way as they fall like for Handsome Jack?
Yeah, so I mean, first off, I agree. Handsome Jack is one of the better villains we've had. It's probably the best villain we've had at Gearbox. And you know, that's always tough to follow, right? When you have a villain that's that kind of beloved, I guess it's always tricky to follow. But the thing with the Calypso twins is, like, I think that twin dynamic is actually really interesting. Like, there's two of them, and like, I don't know. Do you have any siblings? Do you get along with your siblings all the time? Like, you guys never fight ever? No? All right. Well, yeah, so I can't speak for you. I fight with my sister all the time. So I think that kind of dynamic between them is going to be really interesting. And like I just said, I mean, I think that the idea that, like, they're evil, but also they have to be at least somewhat entertaining, or else they wouldn't have all these followers, right? I think that people are going to, like, they're different than Handsome Jack, and I think that's actually really important. They need to be different than Handsome Jack. I think they're going to find their audience just the same way as Handsome Jack did, and I mean, hopefully that people love them the same way.
Okay, the other thing is, for the players, they get 4 new classes. Some are approximately like the Siren we know from previous games, but there are also new classes like the Beastmaster. So can you shortly summarize what are the new features of the new class system?
Sure. Yeah. The main thing we wanted to do was have more variety within each character, right? So that started with having multiple action skills for each character. I mean, previously we've had 1 per character, and now we have at least 3 per character. You mentioned the Siren, Amara. If you're familiar with Sirens in the past Borderlands games, you will be familiar with a couple of the builds for the Siren here. There's also a good, like, close distance, like, brawler build for Amara, which is different than Sirens in the past. She's actually one of our most versatile characters. Flak is who we announced a couple weeks ago, and seems to be very popular. There's a lot of really positive fan reaction for Flak. We've always wanted to do a Beastmaster class. We've always wanted to do a pet class. We got to do a little bit of it with Gage in Borderlands 2, but we really wanted to push that further. And Flak has that hunter kind of loadout aesthetic build, whatever you want to call it, and kind of combine some of, like, a lot of fan favorites from the past. You've got the stealth of Zero, you've got the sniping of Mordecai, and then obviously the pets. Mose was actually the first character that we developed internally, and we just wanted to make a mech. Honestly, like we really just wanted to, like, you know, we thought about soldier classes that we'd done in the past with Roland and Axton, and you know, the natural extension of a turret is like, what if you had a turret you could like ride around on? Well, that's a mech, right? So it was, that fell into place pretty quickly from a design standpoint. Making it's another story. It took forever to make, but we knew what we wanted to do pretty quick. And then Zane, the operative, we knew very early on we wanted to have a character. We were thinking like James Bond, like a spy, right? They had a bunch of gadgets, and it took a long time to land on exactly what that meant. But when we finally made the decision to have 2 action skills at once on him, it really opened up a lot of things, and it gave him like this kind of battlefield kind of control kind of play style, which honestly is really fun. He's a favorite internally, Zane. I think people are sleeping on Zane a bit. I think that he's gonna be really popular too.
So in Borderlands 3, we also finally leave the world from Pandora, exploring new worlds as well. There will be 2 questions. One will be the explanation of the new worlds, and the second one is the traveling between these worlds will be done by spaceship. Are you intending any flight sequences as well?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question first. There aren't flight sequences. Like you go to the bridge of the ship, you go to the console, and you tell you where you want to go, and you light speed jump to that. You don't have to fly the ship. That would be cool, but I mean, we're not a studio that makes flight sims, so we are gonna just leave that to the experts. So far as going from planet to planet, I mean, that's something we've wanted to do since Borderlands 2. We ended that game with the idea that there's all these other vaults in the galaxy, and that you can go open those, right? So we knew coming into this game that we wanted to pay that off. Also, we have this aesthetic from the other previous Borderlands games. Like Pandora is pretty well established at this point. Everyone knows what Pandora looks like. There's a bunch of lore around Pandora and why it looks that way. And to do some of the visual variety that we wanted to do, we knew we had to go to other places for that to kind of make, like, we wanted to make a big cityscape, right? And you can't do that in Pandora. It doesn't make any sense. So I mean, we have to go to Promethea. There's a lot of planets that we haven't talked about yet. So what have we shown? We've shown Promethea, Eden 6, and I think we've shown glimpses of Athenas, but there's still more that we haven't talked about yet. So.
Okay. And due to the huge fan base, surely also are expecting some sort of endgame content to continue, couch co-op or online playing. What can we here expect from Borderlands 3? What would be included as endgame content?
For endgame? So we're starting to talk about some of it at Gamescom. There's still a couple things that we're not talking about quite yet until PAX, but I mean, for the stuff we can talk about, we're bringing back Circle of Slaughter, wave-based combat. This time we have Mr. Torg as the MC or host of Circle of Slaughter, he's a fan favorite character that he seems like a perfect fit for that mode. What we've introduced here is Proving Grounds at Gamescom. Proving Grounds started from a place of, we've heard a lot from players that it's hard to play like a little bit of Borderlands. Like if you don't have a couple hours, it's hard to really do much because you want to like really get into it. We wanted to make something that had, about 15 to 30 minutes of playtime, that if you wanted to just go like grind for loot, grind for experience by yourself or with friends, that you could go do that and have it be like a relatively quick and easy thing to do. They're more skill based. Like the better you do in those Proving Grounds, the better loot you will earn. And there's a lot of them. There's 6 of them, and they are well worth running over and over and over. They scale to you so that they're never really out of date, or they're never really obsolete. And those are actually they start before the end game. We kind of refer to those as like veteran content because you can start doing those about 2/3 of the way through the game, and they continue to be relevant into the end game. And there's a couple things out that we really want to talk about, but we're saving them for PAX. So.
And also a huge thing for the fan base was the badass ranking as well as the golden keys. Can we expect also similarities in the future?
So the golden keys, yes, those are definitely back. The badass rank is actually we have a successor to badass rank. We have kind of it's called guardian rank, and that's all I can say about it because that's one of the things we're talking about at PAX. So. Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, release is really soon. Are there already any future plans also behind, like planning for new DLCs and so on?
Yeah, so the bulk of the team moved off of the game back in June, and took a little bit of time off, took a break, but then came back and immediately started. We know that like with the way people expect games to work now, that they expect content to become pretty fast, pretty frequently after launch, both paid and free, right? So we've had people working on stuff for at least a couple months now, and I'm really excited to get into some more details of what that stuff is, but again, nothing to announce specifically right now, but yes, we're already working hard on a bunch of stuff, so.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, then thank you very much for your time and effort. Looking forward for the release of the game, and I wish you success.
Thank you. Happy Gamescom. Thank you. Safe travels.